The other day I was walking. It was morning. The sun was hitting my face, and I decided to record my thoughts. Someone commented, "Dude, you look so old." And I answered something like, "Who cares how I look? You should be paying attention to the information, not how I look, how I dress, how old I am, what style I'm using, what words, what tone I'm using. You should be using your rational and logical mind and, you know, discard the rest. Pay attention to the information. Who cares how I look? You see, the sun was hitting my face, and I'm in my 40s. I have some whites already, and it magnifies the white in the beard and in the hair when the sun hits you. And who cares how I look? By the way, this is how I look. Anyway, I wanted to share some information. It's just information. I'm not trying to convince you or change your mind, sell you anything. It's about Hinduism, original Hinduism. So in Hinduism, God is an essence without duality. Or as some maintain, without duality, but not without relations. Very important. God is all about relations, and it's an essence without duality. Just that eliminates most religions. Religions are political and social sciences designed to enslave people, and they work a lot in dogma and duality, right? But in metaphysics, in original Hinduism, Brahmanism, original Buddhism, Platonism, Neoplatonism, it's about logic and reason. It has nothing to do with dogma whatsoever. So I wanted to continue and to talk a little bit about the soul and transmigration. In this book, it kind of explains that there's only one soul, okay? And it's not mine or yours. There's only one soul. And like I said in the beginning, it's an essence without duality. And that doesn't mean it has relations, right? So the soul has relations with each and one living thing in this world. It has a relation with it, with every being on this world, all right? The metaphysicians used to break, and still do, they break down the soul into two in order to better explain. Ultimately, there's only one, okay? But to better explain it for people to grasp, they would say there's two. The transmigrant soul, the transcendent soul, you know, the soul that it's immortal, and the elemental soul. The elemental soul is in the physical world. Yes, the body is part of that elemental soul. When you used to read, oh, I haven't seen any soul in the streets, they're talking about the psychophysical, they're talking about the physical aspect, right? And this physical is composed of elements, you know, earth, water, fire, wind, the ether, and it is these elements, you know, that form this body. We call it the elemental soul. Your experiences, your thoughts, your perceptions, you know, the five, six senses, your thoughts, your emotions, your mental machinations, consciousness is part of this individual essence. It's part of this elemental body, yes. Consciousness is individual, even though people talk about collective consciousness, but I will talk about it soon, and hopefully um, uh, I will, transmit the information. Um, but consciousness is very, very individual. Of course, there's residual part of it that is also collective, and that is transmitted during, procreation. But it's quite individual, and it changes. The consciousness that you have now is going to be different from the conscious for 20 years from now if you're still alive, and it will end when you pass away, when there's the breakdown between the physical and the spiritual, you know. So the transcendent soul and the elemental soul, ultimately they're the same. They are the same. They are one and the same. But that part, the elemental part, has a beginning and an end in time. That is the relationship. That is the relationship, Because the soul, or the one, or God, whatever you want to call it, wanted to experience the many, according to Brahmanism, according to Hinduism. The one wanted to experience the many, so it divided itself. It literally animated these bodies in order to experience individuality, to experience all of these points of view, very important. All of these relations. It's all about relations and points of view. Nobody's wrong, and nobody's right at the same time. Ultimately, everybody should be seeking is wisdom, not, useless, petty disagreements and fights, and, picking on the psychophysical. Oh, you look like this, you look like that, It's really dumb. So anyway, I'm going to read here some information that is constantly repeated. There is no individual transmigrant essence. What he's saying is the individual, the psychophysical, the elemental soul doesn't transmigrate. It has a beginning and an end in time. Your individual essence has as a beginning and an end in time. It's only the transcendent self that transmigrates or reincarnates. All right? That's the main idea of Brahmanism. So then you have Christians, at least the original ones, because Christianity, changed a lot, especially with Constantine. When Constantine took over, he turned Christianity into a dualistic creationist, political and social science in order to control population. That's what it's for, and but before that, people like Meister Eckhart, Dante, Thomas Aquinas, and amongst others, they knew still what was the original, and they used to write about it. So when they say, what I don't like is the style that they use, honestly, because it can become confusing, especially in English. It feels like a word salad for those who don't understand what's going on. So when they say, no man hath ascended into heaven, but he that came down from heaven. What is he saying? Doesn't make any sense, right? Well, it does if you understand Hinduism. No man is talking about the individual essences. He's talking about the elemental self. No elemental self has ascended up to the heavens. He's talking about, when you, they talk about the heavens, as being outside the body when you are in spirit. Okay. But he that came down from heaven, right? But he that came down from heaven, the transmigrant soul, the immortal soul, comes from heaven and inhabits the body, right? But the other way around doesn't happen. The psychophysical, the ego, doesn't transmigrate. That's what he's trying to say. So when you listen to the as above, so below, this phrase is repeated many times. It's true that As above, so below. What's above reflects what's below. But the other way around doesn't happen. As below doesn't reflect what's above. What's below stays below. Okay? Um, the figure of the land leech or snakes, it's creatures without legs and arms. So metaphorically, these creatures used to be connected with the soul when you were metaphorically speaking, or using allegory. Land leeches and snakes was a figure of speech for the soul. The figure of the land leech does not imply the passing over from one body to another of an individual life, other than that of the universal spirit, but only of a part, as it were, of this spirit wrapped up in the activities that occasion the prolongation of becoming. In other words, life is renewed by the living spirit, of which the seed is the vehicle, while the nature of this life is determined by the properties of the seed itself. So, like I was saying about consciousness and the collective consciousness, when you reproduce, there's going to be a part of this. How should I put it? There's going to be a part of your consciousness, a character, should I say? That's going to be a part of the character of of your consciousness. It's going to pass to the next generation. Yes, and it is through your seed. Yeah. So a culture is going to inherit a character. A family has a specific character, right? You have noticed this, right? A group, a family, it used to be more solidified in the past. Now with the education system, it's everything is being diluted with Marxism. Nowadays, everybody doesn't have a specific character. Everybody's a Marxist to the detriment of humanity. But in the past, there used to be this character that was passed from family to family, from village to village, There was this specific character. And it is through the seed, our seed. And then, of course, when the baby grows up, you what? You print the baby. You write down on their brain your culture, your costumes, your everything, that your heritage. Yeah. Then again, this can be hijacked by the education system. Now children go to school around 4 or 5 years old. They're already being programmed with Marxism, so it's pretty much useless. Nowadays, the character of a nation is being diluted through Marxism, and through forced migrations. So anyway, where was I? So people like Blake, Thomas Aquinas, and Maestro Eckhart, they say stuff like as well, man is born like a garden, ready, planted, and sown. What they are saying is the soul, the spirit that comes from heaven, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't become anything. It's always the same. Yeah. And all that we inherit from our ancestors is a character. The Son is our real Father. Again, the Son, the soul, God are the same thing. And the only thing we inherit from our ancestors is this character, this specific character. All right. So I think that's going to be the end of it. I've been talking for 15 minutes. Hope you guys have a nice day and tell me what you think.